Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the LA City Board of Public Works. It is Friday, January 8th, 2021. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all on this very monumental week. Dr. Campos, do we have quorum?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Establishing quorum, we have President Good, Vice President Garcia, Commissioners Caloza, and Commissioner Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum. At this time, for the record, all commissioners are dialing in remotely from their home. We're also joined by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, who is dialing in remotely, and I am joining in remotely from my City Hall, here in City Hall from my office. President Good, you do have a quorum at this time. Currently, we have one caller on the line under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section. We also have speakers on items number 5, 9, and 10 for today's special agenda. We also have members from the general public on items number 6, and we also have the artist on item number 6 who's on the line should you have any questions. CD11 is on the line for item number 6 as well. And then we also have 3 members from the Davie Group on item number 4 on the line, should your board have any questions for them as well. So just really quick, just to recap, item 4, members on the line for any questions. 6, the artist is on the line for any questions. We do have CD11 that would like to speak on item 6. And then we also have Mr. Tom Williams on 5, 9, and 11. In addition to that, we did receive commentary through our public comments form on our internet on item number 1, 3, 5, 9, and 10. Those commentaries will be scanned and sent to all commissioners in the next couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Fernando. Let's go ahead. Hello, Dr. Davis.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Let's go ahead. Hearing nothing, no commentary from neighborhood councils. Let's have general public comment.
Great, thank you, Mr. President. We do have one member from the general public on general public comment. Dr. Williams, caller ending in 682. Can you please press star 6, which it looks like you have already. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council Director and also Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. We're quite concerned regarding 2 projects that are being proposed. One in South Pasadena that says that they've consulted with the Board of Engineering regarding street connections to Lowell in Los Angeles from Moffett in South Pasadena. Also, for Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council area, there's a proposed 14-unit development on Ontario Way, and they have said that they have consulted with Bureau of Engineering and Streets for a connection to Kerwin Place. But there's no records that we can get of these meetings and what the substance of the meetings were. We're quite concerned regarding such state modifications and or environmental aspects of both projects, one in Eagle Rock and one in LA 32 Neighborhood Council areas. So please provide any Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Street Services coordination with developments on Ontario Way, Kerwin Place, Ontario Place, or Moffett and Lowell, because we're quite concerned about the impacts of these projects upon our communities. That's all. Oh, by the way, you should get a number for public comments because your online system requires a number. So I put in 1. So the written comment on number 1 is regarding Ontario Place, and I will be
Thank you,
I will be speaking on item 10, not 11.
Mr. President, that clears the queue for general public comment.
Okay, public comment, general public comment is now concluded. So let's go ahead to item number 1. Um, item number, thank you, also, Dr. Williams. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes from Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
I'll second that.
All right, got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any concerns or objections, Commissioners Colosa or Vice President Garcia?
No concerns or objections on my side. As well.
Okay. Hearing none, hearing no objections, the minutes from Tuesday, December 15th, 2020 are approved forthwith. That brings us to item number 2. Item number 2 is in CD 11. This is a budget increase and supplemental agreement change order number 4 to Keller North America Inc., Silmar Boulevard Deep Soil Mixing Pilot Study Rebid Project. Recommending the board 1, authorize $105,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $718,450 for the Silmar Boulevard Deep Soil Mixing Pilot Study Rebid Project. And 2, authorize the city engineer to issue supplemental change order number 4 to Keller North America Inc. for a not to exceed amount of $102,000 or $102,793.50 for the project to cover standby costs associated with amended coastal development permit requirements and delays in obtaining an approved traffic control plan. I think Patrick Schmidt is with us from the Bureau of Engineering. Good afternoon, Mr. Schmidt.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Good, Commissioners. Yes, my name is Patrick Schmidt, Bureau of Engineering. And as President Good just stated, this first board report is request a revision to the budget and issue supplemental agreement change order number 4 to Keller North America Incorporated, formerly known as Haywood Baker Incorporated, for the Silmar Boulevard Deep Soil Mixing Pilot Study Rebid Project. The work order number E198214, contract number C133784. On November 28, 2018, the board issued a construction order to Keller North America from the emergency pre-qualified on-call on-call geotechnical structural contractors list in the amount of $533,435 with a contingency of $80,015 for a total approved construction budget of $613,450 for the project. Silmar Boulevard is located in the Pacific Palisades. A portion of Silmar Boulevard has been adversely affected by a landslide, which has been remedially repaired for about the last 18 years. We did do a pre-design study in which we developed the characteristics of the landslide, and we systematically evaluated various stabilization methods. At the conclusion of this, the BOE selected the deep soil mixing method as the preferred method of stabilizing the street. Deep soil mixing utilizes a special drill rig that mixes the subsurface materials with cement and grout to form soil cement columns below the ground surface. The selection of this method was based on the reduced impact of the community, lower construction costs, and shorter construction schedule compared to other alternatives. Because the deep soil mixing methodology had never been employed by the BOE as a construction method, the BOE proposed a pilot study be performed to increase and expand the city's knowledge with regarding to this methodology and to provide design data for the stabilization of the adjacent section of the Silmar Boulevard and to hopefully improve the costing and bidding for the permanent stabilization project. On August 19, 2019, the California Coastal Commission approved a coastal development permit for the project. Shortly thereafter, we issued a notice to proceed for the project to Keller on September 6, 2019. On September 11th, 2019, the California Coastal Commission informed the BOE that we could not proceed with construction, and they requested a revised monitoring plan and additional mitigation measures. We developed a revised monitoring plan and some alternative measures, mitigation. We provided those back to the California Coastal Commission, and they eventually approved it, the alternative measures, and allowed us to proceed with the construction on January 6th of 2020. This unfortunately resulted in approximately a 4-month delay of the project. On October 28, 2019, Keller submitted their traffic control plan to the Department of Transportation in accordance with the bid documents, including the project plans. Based on the low traffic volume of this short section of Asilomar Boulevard and our previous experience on previous projects we've done for this and associated with this landslide, we developed the plans which allowed for a full road closure of approximately 250 feet of Asilomar Boulevard during work hours, with local access to the two residential driveways that would be impacted. In addition, the plans called for an 8-foot high temporary fencing to be used as a traffic barrier and other traffic controls and signage for the watch manual. During the review of the traffic control plan, the LADOT required that the westbound traffic lane remain open at all times. This requirement reduced the work area and required revision to the traffic control plan. The DOT also required the installation of additional signage, road striping, crash absorbing barriers, and K-rail to be installed as a traffic barrier. The LADOT approved the revised plan on February 7th of 2020. This unfortunately resulted in an additional 1-month delay of the project. The total cost of the time delays for the project is $102,793.50. Supplemental agreement change order number 4 will increase the project change order cost beyond the 25% contract limit. Since the terms and conditions of the original contract are limited to 25% above the award amount, supplemental agreement change order number 4 will also serve to extend the terms and conditions of the contract and to a new revised construction budget of $718,450. The construction of the project has been completed. The statement of completion was issued on June 4th of 2020. The funding from the project originally came from the Special Gas Tax Street Improvement Fund. As part of the first financial status report of this fiscal year 2021, the remaining project funding in the Special Gas Tax Street Improvement Fund was transferred to the Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Fund. Therefore, the requested $105,000 is now available in the Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Fund, Fund number 59V, Department 50, Appropriation Unit 50, TKDN. That's the conclusion of this report. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Colleagues, any questions? Vice President Garcia?
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you, Patrick. I do not have any questions. I am pretty familiar with this project as well. Thank you for your time and your report.
Thank you, Commissioner.
President Pro Tem Davis? You're muted.
Thank you for the report, Patrick. I wanted to just get some information in terms of this new technique, deep soil mixing, that's being used. I understand that it will help us in terms of cost, but in terms of the reliability of this technology, if you want to call it that, of this new form of mixing, I guess this obviously has been proven to be successful in many other areas before we decided to use it as a measure to be implemented in this area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this is the first project where we've used deep soil mixing?
Correct. The first project with the Bureau of Engineering.
Okay, and it's okay. And then will we? Do we have any? Have we finished the project yet?
Yes, the statement of completion was issued in June. The actual construction of this pilot study was only for a couple of months, very short term.
So we will evaluate the project, the pilot project, right?
Correct. As part of the project, after the soil cement columns were constructed, we let the mixture set up for 28 days, and we went out and cored them, the full length of them, down 90 feet. And then laboratory test was performed and the results are very favorable. So
Oh,
it'll
good.
definitely be a significant cost savings to the project. And during the pre-design portion, we had several alternatives ranging in price from at the time in 2017, 16 million to 32 million.
Wow.
And the deep soil mixing was the $16 million alternative.
So, in fact, obviously it's cheaper, but in terms of reliability, we have discovered from our evaluation from the pilot project thus far that it seems to be equally as successful as the other measures and practices we've been employing in the past. Is that pretty
It
accurate?
will be correct. It will be equally, as far as stabilizing the street, it will be equally as effective as the other alternatives.
On occasions, we have these occurrences. We've had one out in San Pedro, and now we have one here. And I would anticipate that in the future, perhaps, there might be a time in which we might have to make a decision in terms of how we want to repair a similar area. Do you think, based upon our evaluation, that we will engage in deep soil mixing in future challenges such as this one?
I believe so, correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Davis. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, President Good. I have no questions either. I thought Mr. Schmidt's explanation and the project were really good, and I appreciate the questions that were asked as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Schmidt. I know this was a really complicated project that involved, differing schedules and approvals of other commissions, and just thank you and your team for finally getting this work done. That was really critical to this community, and also, was also a safety hazard if it wasn't corrected. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Mr. Schmidt, my only question, and I appreciate the walkthrough. So the project is done, which we discussed. I'm just curious from a sequencing perspective, why was this not brought to the board before the project was done?
The contractor did not submit their change order request till May 15th, after all the work had been completed. And unfortunately, we started preparing this board report shortly thereafter. It did not make it to the Office of Accounting until after July 1st. So the available funding was, as part of the city's year-end procedure, the available funding was swept. It was not reestablished back in the accounts until September, is either September 21st or September 23rd. So at that point in time, we started to reinitiate proceed with this board report. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, we have bi-weekly meetings with the CEO as part of the oversight committee, and they asked us to hold off on this. So they wanted to move the funding from the special gas tax to the road rehabilitation fund. So unfortunately, that required a little bit more time. Then once that was all approved, we got back with accounting and got them to approve the funding, and we moved forward with this board report. So there was substantial delays, mostly related to funding and getting the funding secured and documented in place.
So even with the report, okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move. I almost said I'll approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Any objections or concerns, President Pro Tem Davis or Commissioner Villegas?
I have done. Thank you.
All right. All right. Hearing no objection. No. Okay. Hearing no objections, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Commissioner Good.
All right. Let's move to item 3. Item 3 is in CD8. This is a revision of task order solicitation number 00-016, AECOM Technical Services, Inc. Southwest Street Maintenance Yard, recommending the board authorize the city attorney to issue a revision of TOS number 00-016 to AECom Technical Services, increasing the budget authority from $925,000 to $1,225,000 for continued groundwater and soil remediation, monitoring, and related services for the Southwest Street Maintenance Yard. Who's with us today for this, Dr. Campos?
Mr.
Patrick
Schmidt.
again.
Oh, hello, Mr. Schmidt.
Hello, President. Thank you, sir. As you mentioned, this is to revise the task force solicitation number 00016 to AECom Technical Services for continued remediation of groundwater monitoring related services for the Southwest Street Maintenance Yard. This is work order number E8000096, contract 13606. And I should mention, this is an annual thing. The way the funding is provided for these environmental cleanup sites, we work with the CO's office, so they provide us funding on an annual basis. And that's why we do come back to the board on an annual basis until we get the regulating agencies to approve them. And by the way, this one's getting close to completion, so we're optimistic that in the near future we will be done working on this site. Back to the report. On November 27, 2017, the board approved the pre-qualified on-call list of consultants to provide geotechnical and environmental services for projects, including the underground tank soil remediation program. The contract with AECom was executed on December 15, 2017, and will expire on December 14, 2022. The board granted authority to award the initial sole source TOS for Southwest Maintenance Yard to AECom on December 18, 2017, to continue the work for another year on January 10th of 2020. So this board report is for the calendar year of 2021. The regulatory agency, in this case, the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board, has mandated groundwater and soil cleanup and continued monitoring at the site, as well as specific progress tests, including they just recently requested new rebound and aquifer property tests in a recent letter. I did mention we're getting close on this one. That more than 95% of the contaminants have been removed, and case closure from the regulatory agency will hopefully be coming in the next year if we can show that contaminant concentrations continue to fall, and the rebound testing that is proposed in this year's scope of work is favorable for the site. And this TOS revision will allow for the continued remediation of soil and groundwater, monitoring of the groundwater. It also includes waste disposal, regulatory reporting, and related tasks. And once again, this is for the year 2021. This revised task is subject to BIP outreach requirements. The city has established anticipated participation levels of 13% MBE, 4% WBE, 25% SBE, and 8% EBE, and 3% DVBE business enterprises. For the revised task, the consultant is pledging MBE participation of 12.19%, WBE participation of 3.21%, SBE participation of 6.89%, EBE participation of 4.57%, DVBE participation of 0%, and OBE participation of 7.53%. This is for the upcoming fiscal year. One thing I should point out in our consultant table in the board report, Drury Little Remediation Equipment Incorporated is shown twice in the table. And the reason for that is AECom has been working on this since 2007, 2018. And Drury Little has been one of their subs. Initially, they were an OBE. Within the past year, they did obtain their MBE certification. So going forward, we can get credit for them as an MBE participant on the project. Funding for this project, for this revised TOS, an increase of $300,000, including contingency, is available in the Contaminated Soil Mitigation Fund, Fund Number 100, Department 54, Appropriation Unit 00S318. That's the conclusion of the report. Does anybody have any questions?
Colleagues, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Patrick, just a quick question. This is confirming this is going to be done in city property, right? Or first of all, has this been done?
Yes, it's been ongoing. We started working on this project in the year 2000, and the The Southwest Street Maintenance Yard is a Streets LA truck maintenance refueling and overnight parking facility. So it is a city property.
Got it. Okay. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis?
Good. I'm okay with this particular report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I'm good on this also. I see some of these are just requirements that we need to make and use our as needed contract list. So I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. And Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Schmidt. I'm just glad to see that one of their subcontractors was able to get their MBE certification. So that's always good to hear, updates and progress on the subcontractors here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. So this is from the report. This is legally required by the Regional Water Quality Control Board, correct, Patrick?
Correct. We're subject to fines if we don't do the environmental cleanup.
I ask because that means this would be exempt from the mayor's cost containment process. And so we would be able to, if my colleagues approve, we'd be able to move this forward right now. So do I have a motion to approve?
Move.
Wait, that was Villegas, and who else? Davis. All right. I've got. We'll start with Villegas, seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. Any questions or concerns, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Coloso?
No concerns on my end.
No objections. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no objections, the item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Do we get you any more today?
No, that's it for me. I just want to say thank you all. Nice to see you all, and please stay safe.
All right. Thank you,
Patrick, very much.
Bye.
Okay, that brings us to item number 4. Dr. Campos, I'll read the item, and then I think we have public comment on this item, if I'm correct.
Mr. President, we do have 3 callers on the line for item number 4 from the Davy Group. Only if the board has any questions on this item.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And Mr. Benuelos will present, Hector Benuelos will present this item.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Fernando. Okay, number 4 is a task extension, street tree inventory and tree management project, recommending the board, 1, authorize the Bureau of Street Services to extend the project task expiration date for tree inventory and data collection in Zone 1 and Zone 2 until November 15, 2021, and 2, authorize the Bureau of Street Services to extend the project task expiration date to allow Davie Resource Group to integrate the MyLA 311 customer request management system to the DRG Treekeeper 8 management system until November 15, 2021. Mr. Benuelos, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners. Happy New Year, everybody. Hector Benuelos with the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. The Streets LA is currently working, as you may know, on our tree inventory, street tree inventory, right? And this is all part of the Urban Forest Management Plan. It's a very significant component of the plan, and it'll help us realize what resources, how many trees we have, and how better manage the trees and the resources of the living infrastructure. So the Streets LA sent out to bid and awarded the data collection contract to the Davie Resource Group back in October of 2019. And so they have been working very diligently and acquiring all the data needed to implement the tree inventory. And they're also working on a tree management system as well. This is all part of the tree inventory. And the Davie Resource Group, they initially proposed to deliver the project in January of this year, 2021. However, they have encountered a lot of delays and difficulty and challenges due to the current pandemic and the social uprising there and protesting that were occurring earlier in the year. And so they are working and trying to always acquire the certified arborists needed to acquire all the data for the tree inventory. In addition to the tree inventory, they're also assisting the Streets LA with linking the inventory to our customer relations management system, the city's customer relations management system, and hopes that they will be linking the two systems so that we only have one system to work with, the Streets LA, and we're able to better manage our urban forest that way, make it more efficient for staff. They don't have to be updating two systems as opposed to, and we're hoping that it all works and there's no issues and that we make it to where just one system only will receive the request and able to do all our work requests off of that system and receive all the requests from the public as well. And with that, the Streets LA is, actually the Davie Resource Group is targeting completion of the inventory to the end of this year, October of this year, 2021. We're asking the board to approve our request to extend this the task order here with Davie Resource Group for acquire the data for the tree inventory for both zones 1 and 2, and also with the change order that we made, allowing Davie Resource Group to link the customer relations management system to our the tree inventory, which is also known as Tree Keeper 8. So we ask that the board approve our request to allow the extensions of the task work.
Thank you, Hector. Let's jump in. I'm sure folks will have questions. Let's start with Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. Thanks for your presentation, Mr. Banuelos. I think many of us are excited for, this new tree collection database for Streets LA to go live. I know I certainly am, especially after the presentation that Ms. Mallarich made to the board a few weeks ago. One of the questions that I had was just clarifying, so you're asking us for an extension on time, but not for additional costs associated with the Davie Tree Keeper, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We're asking for additional time right now. They're still a little behind schedule. They've acquired about 200,000 sites inventory to date, and we're hoping to get about 650,000 sites when it's all said and done.
Okay. And then according to the report, you've completed about 25% of the data collection, right?
Yes, they've been making some progress since we wrote the report and drafted the report. So they're right around 30% right now, or maybe a little more, but of completed inventory qualified, all with ready to go. They've completed about 30%.
Okay. And then just a last question for me. Are we confident that this is enough time? I know you're asking us for about a 10-month extension, the original time period to complete this project. I think for my count was about 14 months, right? So if you're at 30% completion and you're asking for an additional 10 months, is that enough time to complete this by the fall?
Providing there's no other unprecedented events, we feel that it is enough time. I spoke with Davie Resource Group as well, and they indicated to me that if all goes as planned at the current rate that they're acquiring the data, it should be done by October of this year. October or November of this year.
Okay. And then last question for me. I know the report mentions 2 zones. Is it just 2 or are there more? Are there more zones to be?
No, there are 2 zones. Zone 1 is basically the southern portion of LA, city of LA, basically everything below the 10 freeway. And Zone 2 is the valley areas.
Okay.
So it's divided 2 zones. Simplify things.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Banuelos. I don't have any further questions. I look forward to seeing the results of this in the fall. And hopefully there'll be no more delays on this project. And we hope that the Davy Tree Keeper team stays safe out in the field. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President Good, and thank you, Mr. Banuelos, for the report. I have no questions. I just know that being involved with the tree inventory and seeing that we had to endure a pandemic that really caused the delay to happen, and getting just as many volunteers to be out in assisting with this effort during the stay-at-home orders impacted the work. But Davy is now ramping up just to get a little bit more volunteers and retooling to be able to finish this off. So I am looking forward also just to have a completed report and a comprehensive one as well. So I appreciate your report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, and thank you for the report. In understanding the zones, as I've heard your remarks about them, the entire city is divided into 2 zones. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, well, we've divided it into 2 zones, yes. Valley versus the southern portion.
So basically north of the mountains and kind of south of the mountains, if you will.
Yes.
And I think that the expectation is that while we in this motion are being asked to extend the scope of work in terms of time, I think it's inevitable that you will be coming back for funding as well, probably, wouldn't you be?
We may, because the location we identified, they're basically on the flats. And so we're estimating that there's about 700,000 sites within those flats. There's probably more. Well, we know there's more areas to cover on the inventory. And so we're hoping that the city finds funding to cover the remainder of the areas.
Or is it, as Commissioner Villegas said, only an extension because of the unfortunate time delay that we experience as regard of COVID-19? Is that perhaps the more dominant reason as to why we're extending the time, and that we might not have to have additional money because it was basically just a delay of the COVID situation versus we have had to extend the time and that there's going to be more work that was anticipated. So I'm trying to juxtapose, in the future, what this means moving forward.
Yeah, we're just asking for more time to complete the task they initially hired Davy Resource Group to complete.
Okay,
so, which is inventorying approximately 680,000 sites.
Wow, good. So basically, I just wanted to observe that this is certainly great to be able to have this kind of assessment of our footprint of all of the various trees that we have in the city. And I don't know if any other city is doing it, but I believe that it will be of value to other cities as well in terms of what you all are doing. So thank you for the report, and I look forward to some of the results that the Board of Public Works will be able to observe from this work. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I think all my colleagues asked very good questions, but I just want to acknowledge that we have Adele popping up on the screen here. Hello, Adele. And then also, Greg, did you want to say something? Greg Spots.
Yes, I did. Hi, greetings to everyone. Greetings from the car. I was listening on council audio, but I just wanted to chime in a few corrections to what was presented, just to make sure we all understand what's happening. So we're doing the tree inventory by neighborhood council. And we clustered neighborhood councils into 3 groups. The non-hilly areas in the metro, that's zone 1. The non-hilly areas in the valley, that's zone 2. And the hilly areas to do later, because
often in the hills, there's no sidewalk and there's no parkway. And it's much more difficult to determine if a tree is a public street tree or a private property tree. So we decided not to award that task yet until we did the easier ones and had the contractor get familiar. So the tasks that we've awarded using a contract that Rec and Parks already had with Davy are for the flats in the metro and the flats in the valley at a price of $2.99 a tree. And we just need more time to complete those trees because there's been a limited ability to staff the project with out-of-town arborists during the pandemic. So there's fewer Davy arborists in the field every day than there would have been if there hadn't been a pandemic. We would have had all these Davy arborists who wanted to come to LA in the winter and work here and have beautiful weather. And of course, they couldn't come because of COVID. So what I'm trying to make sure everyone understands is at the end of this process, we will have completed inventorying all the street trees in the flats, but we still have a task to award in the future of the street trees in the hills. And we do have funding for that because the additional funding we needed, we obtained as part of a larger grant that Rachel Malrich obtained for the urban forest.
Was that the CAL FIRE grant, Greg?
Correct.
Yeah. And what's just a ballpark, and this is Hector, Greg, Adele, whoever, what's the ballpark on what, and this is not what we're dealing with today, but I'm just for my own edification, what's the ballpark on the number of trees we'll be looking at in the hilly areas, or do we have any sense of that?
So when a tree inventory was performed in the late 90s, there were 700,000 street trees identified. And at $3 a tree, that would be $2.1 million. We obtained $2 million of funding originally for this project, so the gap was relatively small. Although I do need to note that we pay $3 also for stumps and available planting locations. And so there may be quite a bit more than 700,000 when we add those. But there's plenty of money in the CAL FIRE grant to cover that when we get into the hilly areas. So all we're asking for at this juncture is more time to get all the flats completed at the budget that was originally expected for the flats.
Great.
Okay. Vice President Garcia, do you have any additional questions?
Nope, that was good. Thank you, Team Streets LA, for that thorough presentation.
But just to add, Mr. President,
yeah,
good to see everyone. Adel Hash Khalil, Director of Street Services, Streets LA. I want to thank the team. I want to thank Greg and Hector and the team from Davy for the great work. But the good news is that every neighborhood council is being done on its own and completed. So we're not waiting for the entire inventory to be done. It's being on a neighborhood council by neighborhood council, and the reports are completed and shared with the community, and it's available on the website. So we're not waiting for the entire complete. We are actually rolling out a neighborhood council by neighborhood council, which I think is a great innovative way of rolling out a program. So as we are moving forward and completing, a complete report is being prepared, an inventory is being prepared, and presentation to the neighborhood councils is being made on their specific issues, conditions, and the inventory in their community. So I want to just say that as we are rolling out and completing the program, a lot of councils have been completed, and the data is already out there being shared.
Thanks, Adele.
And it's also on Streets LA website, just by neighborhood council as well.
And how are the neighborhood councils? Is that strictly a matter of geography and communication, or are they participating in it in any way?
We've been presenting the two-page summary report to neighborhood council meetings if they choose to have that. We offer that to each neighborhood council, and I was very privileged to be the presenter for one of the Empowerment Congress neighborhoods a month or two ago, and we had lots of very deeply thoughtful questions and comments about the urban forest. It was really like a 45-minute discussion about the neighborhood's aspirations for their particular tree population. So we really designed the project with a lot of deep community interaction, and I appreciate Adele mentioning that. Also, the map is live, and every day new trees get added. So folks can look at it now and see the 200,000 sites that have already been identified.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. For the team, and maybe this is a Hector question. Can you also just unpack recommendation 2, the integration of MyLA 311 and Tree Keeper 8, like just for in lay terms for the public and for the president, how exactly that will sort of play out?
I can speak to that.
Okay.
This is a topic I'm very passionate about involving MyLA 311. Streets LA was a leader in 2015 in deploying mobile devices so that we could have our staff see service requests in real time that came into MyLA 311. So when we're inspecting potholes, for example, we're not doing it with a bunch of printouts of the service requests. We're doing it with the tablet in the field. So a service request is a person who's asked for something at a certain address. It's a different way to organize information than a particular tree at a particular latitude and longitude. So today, if we, or a year ago before the tree inventory, if we responded to a tree emergency at 123 Main, we wouldn't have a maintenance record on that particular tree. We would just close that service request and encode it that we removed a fallen limb, for example. But where we want to go is we want to actually have that maintenance effort attached permanently to that particular tree. So we know that 4 years ago we came and there was a fallen limb, for example. So the two ways to do that would be to go back and forth in between two apps on the tablet and close the service request so that the requester knows what happened, and then go into Davy and go to that particular tree and update the maintenance record. That would be the way you would do it if you don't integrate the systems. But Davy is working on a sophisticated plan where my staff can work within Davy and through Davy also close the service request. So it's like one touch to two different databases, one that's a tree maintenance record and one that's a service request record.
And basically, anytime one of your folks go out in perpetuity, once this is done and they're handling a tree emergency, they're going to be able to access the full sort of history of that particular tree.
And it can help us at times with diseased trees. There may be times
Right.
where we will decide to take out a tree because we're saying this is the third time a limb has fallen off this tree already.
So there's actually liability implications there as well, which can be helpful.
I think there's a liability risk reduction potential here, yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right. Any other questions or comments, colleagues, or concerns?
Just thank you, Streets LA team, for the report.
Yeah. And thank you, Davy Group, for showing up en masse. We appreciate it. Do I have a motion to move this item forward?
I'll move it.
So moved.
Okay, I'm going to give this one to Davis, President Pro Tem Davis, with a second from Commissioner Villegas. Do I have any questions or concerns, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Caloza?
No concerns or objections on my end.
No objections, thank you.
All right, hearing no objections, the item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Adele. Y'all have great days, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you to Davy, folks. Keep the grind up. Be safe. All right. That brings us, folks, to item number 5. Item number 5 is an advisement from the Office of Community Beautification, a report back on graffiti photos. Recall, folks, that we had this on the agenda in the fall, and we continued it. But on July 28th, 2020, The Office of Community Beautification was requested by the Board of Public Works to provide. Can everyone mute their phones? Great, thank you. Was requested by the Board of Public Works to provide information regarding Office of Community Beautification graffiti removal contractors uploading before after photos of each graffiti abatement job into the MyLA 311 database. This was originally on the agenda for Friday, October 30th, 2020. We continued it to today. I would just preface this, and I think Fernando, we have a speaker on this item. Yeah. I would just preface this with the, sort of the frame that, the idea here is to think critically and broadly and expansively around how best to track what's happening with these contracts. And so I know OCB has done some work on this. Dr. Campos, do you want to go ahead and first allow for our speaker to participate?
Yeah, absolutely. President Good, we do have one caller on the line, caller ending in 682, caller ending in 682, Dr. Williams. Can you please press *6 at this time? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 5. Please go ahead.
Okay, could we have the presentation first? Or is there a presentation?
There is a presentation. Dr. Williams, would love to go ahead and get your comment first.
It's difficult to comment on something that I haven't heard. However, the basic element is that my LA 311 database is excellent, except for one thing. Most people don't know how to use it, and especially it doesn't advertise what you are doing in the Board of Public Works or the Office of Community Beautification, to the extent that we don't know at the neighborhood council level as to what's being done within our area. Therefore, I would highly recommend that the photographs for each individual neighborhood council area be gathered together from your database and provided to the neighborhood councils on, say, a quarterly or even an annual basis, so you can advertise what you're doing more efficiently. My background is over 150 fire hydrants have been repainted by me. So I'm quite familiar with the progress and the need to report to the neighborhood councils as to how things are being improved. We don't know when graffiti abatement jobs are being done in our neighborhood council areas, and we don't see any direct evidence, such as the photograph before and after thereof. So please coordinate with Dunn and my LA 311 to provide a process, a flow chart as to how people that are not 311 database familiar can access what has been done near their house. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Paul and Jerry, who's going to be giving the presentation today?
That would be me.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. And my understanding is that the actual report is going to be continued for 1 week, just because of the holidays and some of the slowness and getting in touch with some of the other groups that take photos and stuff like that. We have not completed the written report. So I just wanted to give a very brief and quick update as to where we are so far. Beginning in the month of December, we did instruct all of our graffiti abatement contractors to start uploading photos for at least 20% of their graffiti removal requests into the MyLA 311 system, and to track the various issues that might create as far as the amount of time they spend uploading photos. Additionally, OCB has purchased additional licenses which do allow field crews, graffiti abatement crews, to immediately upload photos from the field as soon as they complete the work, as opposed to waiting till the end of the day and uploading all those photos at once at the end of the day. We have started reaching out to, but haven't fully connected with some of the other jurisdictions that do graffiti abatement to find out what process or procedures they use in terms of photos for graffiti, such as Caltrans or LA County, to assess whether or not they do upload before and after graffiti abatement photos and their experiences utilizing those. Additionally, OCB has met with Commissioners Garcia and Calosa, as well as Executive Officer Campos, to get their input in the report. They had some good ideas and feedback that we will be incorporating into the report that will be presented in full next week to the board. That's it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
So you're saying there's an additional report to the report from October 29? Is that the gist?
Yeah, well, we did an initial report, and then we reported back to the board again towards the, well, I guess it was more towards the end of November, middle of November, when we were asked to report back. So again, I have been working with Commissioner Calosa, Commissioner Garcia, and Dr. Campos, and getting their input. So yes, we have not submitted the finalized written report. There's still some outstanding issues on that. And so the agreement in talking to them when we met earlier this week was it would make more sense to continue this item for 1 week when we'll have a more fleshed out report regarding taking photos.
And this is a report. Okay, so since I was not privy to that conversation, what is the additional information that is going to be secured?
We're going to have some more detailed information, feedback from our contractors, the feedback that they've obtained after submitting photos beginning in the month of December. So they've now been doing that for about 5 or 6 weeks, and the sort of experiences that they have had and challenges or how easy it has been to upload photos. Additionally, we're going to still have to touch base and hopefully Caltrans to find out their experiences utilizing the photos. And then there were some requests from, again, from Commissioner Calosa and Garcia's, the additional items they'd like to see in the written report.
Okay. So why is this on the agenda right now?
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, this item is on the agenda because this was requested and continued to this specific date by this board. So we have to agendize this. What Mr. Roch is asking for is we wanted to provide an update on what we've done over the last month on this item and ask that this board continue this item for 1 more week so that we can submit a formal report that the entire board can consider in regards to the pilot program, if you will, and what those components would look like and the criterion that would be part of that pilot. So in short, to answer your question, President Good, it's on the agenda because this board requested it to be on today.
Okay. So is someone requesting a continuance?
Yes, we are formally requesting a continuation for 1 week to Friday, January 15, 2021, to allow the Office of Community Beautification to submit a formal report that this board could fully consider regarding the pilot program.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that. Not so much with the procedure leading up to it, but so are there any objections to continuing this next week?
None.
No objections. None. We had just to kind of clarify a little bit, President Good. We have been working on solidifying what the pilot program will look like, and so there's a little bit more work that needs to be put on the report before it comes to the board. And so it was already on today's agenda, and so we, instead of just completely not having any mentioning of it, we just talked him to just say that we're going to continue this into next week, and so we have a week to kind of flesh it out and get it more comprehensive to be able to show it to the rest of the commissioners.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
I have no objections. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Calosa, you also want to continue, correct?
That's correct, President Good, and I agree with Vice President Garcia. You know, we did meet on this recently, saw a draft, reviewed it, and gave feedback to Mr. Roch about the additional content that we wanted to see before we put it before the full board for consideration. So this was us just needing a little bit more time to kind of finalize the report. So hopefully this 1 week will be enough time for us to finalize it and bring it next week.
Okay. All right. So we will continue to next Friday. Dr. Campos?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or anything, colleagues?
None for me.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jerry. And we'll see you next week. Okay. Let's move to item number 6. Item number 6 is in CD 11, encroachment in public right-of-way, Mar Vista Branch Library, 12006 Venice Boulevard, recommending the board, 1, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to grant revocable permission to encroach within the public right-of-way, subject to listed conditions. 2, Tracy Corrine, who I know has joined us today. The encroachment is an installation of tile mosaic artwork on the public right-of-way sidewalk in front of the Mar Vista Library, located at 12006 Venice Boulevard, Council District 11. 2, authorize the city engineer to issue no fee revocable permit for work to be performed. 3, authorize the city engineer to issue no fee A permit for work to be performed. And 4, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to request the Bureau of Contract Administration to provide a no-fee inspection of the project. Jerry, are you here on this item?
Yes, sir, I sure am.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon again. And I know actually we have CD 11 here to speak on the item. Also the artist, Ms. Corrine. Why don't we, and is there anyone else, Dr. Campos?
No, not on item 6.
Okay, so let's have the representative from CD 11 speak for now.
Great. CD 11, caller ending in 150, caller ending in 150. If you can please press star 6 at this time.
Good afternoon, board. This is Vishesh Anand, field deputy from Mar Vista from CD 11.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to speak really quickly on behalf of this item. This is something that our office has been working on even before I assumed this position in August 2020. It's something that our council member really wants to see in the ground and installed as soon as possible. Additionally, this is something that our local NC, the Mar Vista Community Council, actively supports. Their subcommittee for the Great Streets project is definitely pushing for this installation. And finally, this project is on Venice Boulevard in downtown Mar Vista. That was awarded the Great Streets title under the Mayor's Great Streets program. So this mosaic will further reinvigorate the pedestrian experience. So I encourage you to vote in favor for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jerry, please proceed.
Okay, great. Good afternoon again, President Good, Commissioners, and Mr. Executive Officer. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope everyone had a great holiday. Jerry Valido, Assistant Director of the Office of Community Beautification. Today's presentation marks the first of hopefully many Adopt a Medium projects for 2021. This project is one of our more unique offerings and has been in the Adopt a Medium program and in the process, I should say, since late 2019. Over the last 3 years, through the Great Street ad hoc committee meetings held in Council District 11, artist Tracy Korean was selected to design and build this artwork, which will be a hopscotch board mosaic. The location of the mosaic will be in and on the sidewalk in front of 12006 Venice Boulevard, in front of the Mar Vista Library, which was chosen with the assistance of CD11 staff. Mar Vista, which is Spanish for ocean view, will be reflected in the artwork. All the squares of the hopscotch pattern will have images representing creatures or things found in the ocean. There are a total of 7 blocks. Each numbered jumping square is 10.5 by 12 inches tall, and the materials are porcelain tile and concrete. And as Vishesh stated, this project has been a priority of Councilmember Bonin's office for the past several months. And through partnership with OCB, the terms of the maintenance agreement for this project were solidified. Further coordination among city family has allowed for logistical planning between Streets LA and the artist to further facilitate the installation of the mosaic. So at this time, I'd like to request the board adopt this project in order that we may continue on to the permitting process.
Thank you, Jerry. Since we have Ms. Green, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, Ms. Green, with us, would you like to add anything? Is Ms. Green still there?
Hello. Sorry, it took me a second to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not much to tell. I've been working on this project since 2015. We started with a public build on our first. It was the Buy Small Business Saturday, way back in, I want to say 2015 at the very latest, or 2016. So the mosaic has been in progress for almost 5 years now. So yeah, we would love to get this completed and see it in the sidewalk. It's passed all its tests, the slip test, and I think I started having meetings with the Bureau of Street Services back in 2016 or 2017 on, how they preferred my method of building, and so yeah, now I've got these giant, 75-pound blocks where the mosaic is embedded in the concrete, just ready to be installed in a depression in the sidewalk. So I would love to see that happen this year, if that's possible.
Great, thank you very much. I'm exceedingly familiar with this library, so this sounds like a great project. Any questions, colleagues, or comments? We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
It sounds like an exciting project. I want to get it done too, and actually see it. It's just awesome when we're able to sprinkle a lot of artwork, throughout the city. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. This will be real exciting. And if anyone wants photos of the design, I can certainly forward those via email if you find a way to just send me your address.
I actually would. I think I won't put I won't do that over the meeting, but perhaps Mr. Vallito could send you my email address. I'd like to see that as well.
Yeah, or you can send an email to Vishesh and he can forward those names to me, and then I can send them back.
Okay.
Jerry, just to clarify, I see the pictures on the report. Are those the pictures?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was just about to chime in with. Yeah, I submitted the report from the Department of Cultural Affairs, which had all the photos in there, so it should be there for you guys to see.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. You're stuck. Vice President Garcia, any comments or questions?
No comments or question. It's a beautiful design. I'm excited that this is going to go outside of the library, right? Or public library?
Yes, and it's very close to a bus stop there on the corner. So we figured with all the kids that go into the library, we took several walks of the entire length of the Great Street, both sides of Venice Boulevard, the north side and south side, and that just seemed to be the most conducive place where the sidewalk was wide enough to make it safe for kids to play on it. It's set as far back from the curb as it can possibly be, with a lot of children for foot traffic, and a great place because there's the bus stop that's right at that corner as well. So we hope that it'll get a lot of use.
Yeah, it's a beautiful design. I just want to say I'm also happy that it's hopscotch chosen. It's a game that's probably gonna get lost as more technology comes into play, and so I'm happy that we're at least keeping it on the floor, and if anybody walks by it, they can still explain to their kids what hopscotch is. Um, and so if you know how to play it, always transfer that knowledge to the kids now, because a lot of them don't get to do that, especially now. They're not even getting to go outside. So happy that it's the hopscotch as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
I look forward to finalizing this project. Jerry, once it's done, please let us know. I think it'll be nice if we can, eventually go out there and take a look at it.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yeah, my observations are that it seems to be a wonderful project, and I just want to compliment all of the entities involved. And also thank you, Tracy, the artist. I guess Tracy's the artist on the project as well. And glad to see that the Community Beautification Office has been able to put this together. And we hope that other regions, districts within the city, can enjoy the same kind of results that you've been able to achieve here. Sorry it takes us so long to get these things done, but thank you for a great report. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank everyone for all their hard work on this project.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Closer.
Thank you, President Good. Yeah, I echo my colleague's sentiments. Congratulations to Ms. Corinne on her design of this artwork, and to the council office. And I just had a quick question for Mr. Valito on this, that all the submittals and all the things are ready for BOE in terms of the approval of this permit. I know these ones are tricky, and that we're coordinating on behalf of the applicant to get these city permits. So just wanted to double check, since this one is a unique beautification project.
Yes, Commissioner. Actually, the permit process in and of itself is routine. That it'll be the same thing I do all the time. But on the side, CD11 and Streets LA, as well as the artist Tracy Korean, have all they've been in meetings already, coordinating the actual installation of the mosaic. So all the bases are covered.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for confirming that, and congratulations to all parties involved for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Yeah, I don't have any questions. Just same. This sounds like a really nice project, and I want to also thank Councilmember Bonin. Thank you for joining us, and for the leadership on getting this done. And thank you, Tracy, and thank you, OCB. This is exciting. So I have a motion. I'll motion to move this forward. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any objections, questions, concerns, or epiphanies? President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Closer, Commissioner Villegas.
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
All right. So I've got a second to my motion from Vice President Garcia. Hearing no objections, the item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Ms. Green. Thank you, Paul. And we look forward to seeing this.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Colleagues, that brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is in CD 15. This is a contract award to Access Pacific Inc., Tiny Home Village, Harbor Park, Figueroa Place project, recommending the board, 1, declare Access Pacific Inc. Access first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Access a contract for the Tiny Home Village Harbor Park Figueroa Place project for $3,616,580. Two, authorize the president or two members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. And three, recommend the board to instruct Access to submit their bonds and insurance as soon as possible, but no later than 14 calendar days. Colleagues, just as a note, given that this is part of the development of interim housing, this will not be subject for the unsheltered. This will not be subject to the mayor's cost containment process if you approve or if we approve. Dr. Campos, is there a speaker on this item?
Mr. President, no speaker on item number 7.
Okay, great. All right, Mahmoud, hello, sir.
Good afternoon, President Good. Actually, Marina will be presenting the report, and I'm here just to support her.
All right. Hello, Ms. Quinones. You know, we know we're in the last days of Mahmoud anyway, so it's good to hear from you. Thank
Hello.
You. Hi.
Thank you. Hello, President Good and Commissioners. So today we're presenting to you the award board report for Tiny Home Village Harbor Park. This will be the third tiny home village that has come to your board. We're recommending the board award Access Pacific the contract. Bids were open on December 18th. All 3 bids were below the city engineer estimate. Pacific came in at about 19.87% low. This is a design build method of project delivery, so we've prepared a bridging document set that was used for bidding purposes, and then that set will be developed further by the general contractor, and it'll be used for permitting as well. Access is a small company, but they have done various projects for the city, and they are in good standing. Construction duration for the project is 98 calendar days. In regards to the design, the site is located, as President Good said, in Council District 15. It's across from the LA Harbor College, just for you to get familiar with the area. The site is owned by Recon Parks. It's an existing asphalt parking lot, so it has been previously developed. There's available infrastructure on the site and right across the street. The site will have 75 pallets, so that will be up to 146 beds. It'll have hygiene, admin and laundry facilities, a pet area. So it's the same amenities as the previous tiny home villages. There is some minor site work still needed on the site to ensure ADA accessibility at the communal areas. And lastly, I know we've all seen the LA Times article in regards to Chandler being $130,000, excuse me, $130,000 a pallet. I do want to share with you because this site it has been developed before, and the fact that infrastructure is readily available, the cost per pallet for this site is $67,000. So it is significantly lower because of the fact that it's a good site to build on for these pallets. So we're providing a lower price per pallet, but still providing the same level of dignity and community as the previous ones that have come a little bit higher. At this point, I can take some of your questions if you'd like.
Thank you, Marina, very much for that presentation. So let's open up the floor. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I do not have any questions at this time. So thank you, Marina and Mahmoud, for your time.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, Marina, thank you so much for this report. And in thinking about the success of this project so far, I'm reminded of the recent concern people have had on the program in terms of getting people into these facilities. You have no knowledge of how that works, do you? In terms of how we choose individuals to get the opportunity to be one of the residents in these areas. Do you?
I don't know the specifics, but I do know that LASA does a lot of outreach in the specific areas. That they have a lot of people doing outreach, getting to know the community, getting to know who's out there, and they do have a log of the individuals, and they do reach out in personal ways. But that's really all the information that I have.
So now this project is complete already, or
No, we're requesting that the board award the contract
awarded? Okay.
to Access Pacific. Correct.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Yeah, I definitely support it. And again, you know, given the challenges that we have today, this is deeply needed in the city of Los Angeles. And everyone knows that as one of the biggest cities in America, the homeless problem almost seems endless. You know, we placed 10,000 people in this month, and then 10,000 moved to Los Angeles next month. It's a part of who we are. And I think that these efforts that you all are involved in are critically important for us to effectively manage our homeless or those who are without shelter. So I thank you for your work, and I just want to underscore for you how critically important it is at this point and moment in time.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I appreciate Marina's report as well. Thanks for just giving us the estimates in terms of like per what do you call it, like
cost
tiny
per
house?
pallet.
Yeah, cost per pallet. I appreciate that. I don't have any questions either. Your report was thorough, as was the board letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. Thank you, Ms. Quinones, for your report as well. I agree with my colleagues. It was incredibly thorough. You know, I think that the Bureau of Engineering has done a tremendous amount of work in building the, you know, ecosystem, if you will, of the bidders that are actually, you know, putting proposals in for this kind of work. I think that it's incredibly positive to see that all 4 bids came in low, and I think we can't stress that enough. You know, it results in good cost savings for this project. And the calculation that you put together for the cost per pallet, you know, at $67,000 per pallet is really helpful just to understand the types of facilities that we're building, the types of services that we're putting into the community, and, you know, the infrastructure that we're building that's going to last in the city for not just 1 or 2 years, but ideally, you know, 3 to 5 years. And so that's really an investment worth making into our interim homelessness housing. So I think that's really notable. The one question I had for you that I thought maybe, I know it's here listed here in the board report, but maybe if you can just briefly highlight it, is can you just speak a little bit to the involvement of the council office and kind of the community outreach that you all did leading up to today?
Sure. So Council Office 15 has been really involved in the community. They've had a series of online viewing for the community, showing the layouts, talking about what kind of services they'll have. They did have a small amount of opposition, but I feel like CD15 has really done a great job in reaching out and explaining that this facility, you know, will be providing specific services that will keep the community safe overall.
Yeah, and I'll just add here too as well that in these virtual forums, some of the groups that they reached out to were the Harbor City Neighborhood Council. They also have their own working group on homelessness. They also worked with the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, looks like they did hear a substantial amount of outreach leading up to this point, since, you know, these projects, you know, impact the community, and we know and understand that. So this is a critical component to delivering this project. And the last thing too that I wanted to ask, and unrelated to this project, I just wanted to ask, is this our last meeting with you, Mr. Karimzadeh?
No, actually, it's not. I hope it's not, because I'm leaving in early May, so I suspect that I will have a couple of more meetings before I leave.
Okay, good. So we don't have to embarrass you further today. I just want But that was my final question. Thank you both for your work on this, and nothing further from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Coloso. Yeah, Mr. Crimsada and Ms. Quinones, just more observation than anything. So, I mean, you alluded to it. Obviously, we're in a very challenging financial situation in the city. We also have an existential crisis with our unsheltered population and our unsheltered neighbors. Just to underscore a point, is it reasonable to glean from the difference between the cost per unit price of STUM and the cost per unit price of this project? And I know we have another one coming up in this very next item, that a key distinguishing factor is the literal land on which the project is based, and by extension, the infrastructure that is either in place, not in place, or, you know, all the above.
Absolutely. Mahmoud, you could add, but in regards to Chandler, Chandler was completely undeveloped. We had to bring all utilities to the site, and there was nothing available around there. So you know, this site is previously developed, which makes a huge difference. Mahmoud, do you want to add anything?
You're absolutely correct, Marina. Yes, Commissioner President Good, you're correct. The site conditions is the major player. If you've been given a site that you have to bring the sewer lines for a connection from 700 feet on the major streets, or you have to bring power and then provide 3 transformers for a small amount of pallets, it makes a huge difference than where the power is available, when the water lines are there, and sewer connection will be easily 40 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet to the streets next to the site. So that's a major player. But besides the utility connections, Marina just mentioned development of the site. These 2 sites, both of them on CD3 and on CD15. CD3 comes next. On CD15, we are just talking about or develop their asphalt already there. So we anchor our pallets to the asphalt rather than creating concrete foundations. Not only that, but the amount of demolition, grading, cleaning, and then rebasing the entire site is minimal, very minimal. So those are major players, the existing condition of the site.
Thanks, y'all. And look, obviously, we all know we have you know, challenges finding land available across the city for not just these, but previously with the bridge home sites. But it is necessary to think about this. And if I recall, with Chandler, which again looks like it's going to be, I mean, we approved, and it should be, I think, an outstanding project. But the sewer line and the electric cumulatively were, I mean, that was almost 1.5 or $2 million, I believe, right?
Is about right, correct. Only about $700,000 just sewer outside.
Sewer. Yeah.
And then, of course, you pay to get the sewer lines inside the property where they need it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for the excellent report. Very much appreciate it. So do I have a motion to move the item forward?
So,
Commissioner Pelosi got there first. I got a second from President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have any questions, concerns, or epiphanies, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Villegas?
None of those for me. Thank you.
I have none either. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no objections or epiphanies, this item is approved and adopted forthwith. Thank you all, and stay tuned, because item number 8, and by the way, again, the mayor has issued a blanket exemption on unsheltered interim housing projects coming through in terms of cost containment. Item number 8, speaking thereof, in CD3, this is also a contract award to Access Pacific Inc. Tiny Home Village, CD3 Van Owen Street, and Tiny Home Village, CD3 Reseda Boulevard. Recommending the board, 1, find transmittal number 4 to be unmerited as discussed in this report. 2, receive and file transmittal number 53. 3, declare Access Pacific Inc. first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Access a contract for Van Owen Street and Reseda Boulevard Tiny Home Villages for $5,241,000. 4, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. And finally, 5, recommended the board to instruct Access to submit their bonds and insurance as soon as possible, but no later than 14 calendar days. Ms. Quinones, will you be presenting to us again?
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you, President Good. So this award board report is, as he mentioned, for Van Owen and Reseda. These are 2 sites in CD3. The proximity is close enough where the contractor can have, access to both, and so that's why they were bid out together. We're recommending that the board award Access Pacific the contract. The bids are open on December 1st. We had 3 bids, and they were all below the city engineer's estimate. Access was the lowest at about 31% low. It was very low. This is a design build method as well. We're provided the same type of bridging documents for bidding purposes. Again, Access is a small company, but they're in good standing with the city. Now, in regards to attachment 4, transmittal number 4, there was a bid protest for this site. Ford, who was the second lowest bidder, submitted a protest claiming that Access failed to list a subcontractor for a solar reflective coating. The claim was submitted. Access did respond, which is your transmittal number 5. The response was that the bridging documents, which is the documents they used for bidding purposes, did not list a specific manufacturer. So as a design build contractor, he has the right to basically use whatever product as long as it meets our guidelines or our specifications. And as well, the product that is listed does not require any specific certification, so it can be self-performed by the contractor. So city staff and also the assistant city attorney concur that the protest does not have merit. So that is what we are recommending as well from the board. In regards to the design, both sites are located in CD3, both previously developed sites. They're both asphalt parking lots. Van Owen is a city-owned lot. It's behind Blumenfield's office, just so you know as far as context. 53 pallets, 101 beds, and again, previously developed available infrastructure. Reseda is located at the Reseda Orange Line. The site is actually owned by Metro. 77 pallets up to 148 beds. Both sites will provide the same amenities: hygiene, admin, laundry, pet areas, site improvements as well, just to ensure that we have ADA accessibility at the common areas. Lastly, just so we can all look at the overall scope compared to Chandler, Van Owen pallet cost, unit cost per pallet is $69,000. For Reseda, it's $58,000. So we do see the numbers coming down. Again, same amenities, same level of dignity and community. And also to look at, as far as community involvement, Blumenfield has been very active in the community, actually personally talking to the community himself. He's reached out to the Tarzana and Reseda Neighborhood Council, and he actually has a town hall meeting scheduled for January, early February. So I'll take any questions at this point.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. I think Councilmember Blumenfeld really should be commended. I know that he has literally for years now attempted to avail the city of his own district office parking lot to provide shelter in some form. I know that at some point they were looking at safe parking, but for our unsheltered neighbors. And so I think that's he and his staff are to be commended for that. So any and this again would this project will be exempt from the mayor's. It's part of the blanket exemption that the mayor has issued on cost containment for unsheltered interim housing projects. Questions or comments, Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good. I think you answered my question, President Good, which was what was I saw it's a huge space. What was it for, or what is it used for now?
It's currently a parking lot. It's an asphalt parking lot. It's used for parking. Mm-hmm.
Parking for local businesses or just for the council member's office?
No, there's surrounding offices, and also the Blumenfield's offices are used the same. And the community also uses it. You know, it's not fenced in.
It's huge. It's really nicely developed. I saw that.
There's a park over there too, isn't there?
There's a small park adjacent to it. Correct?
Yeah, there is. And then, sorry for the very mundane question I'm going to ask right now, but on your rendering, I see colorful tiny homes. Is that what it's going to look like, or I know it's a very mundane question. I'm sorry, but
no. So yeah, the layouts because of cost, we have diminished the color that we're using on the sites, but this is basically the rendering shows it depicts the actual what you'll actually see, except for color.
Okay.
Color will not be as much, but you still see a little bit.
It's not important, but I just I just saw it on the rendering, but I just wanted to confirm if that's the way it was going to look.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Everything's important, Vice President Garcia.
Yeah.
I know, but I just, in the scheme of the big picture, the colors are not.
Actually, I'm an architect, and colors are very important.
Oh, well, then there you go.
They set your mood, it sets the environment. So yeah,
true, very true.
It was a good question.
Okay, well, then I'll take credit very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Oh, no questions for me. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Villegas.
I have just a quick question, and maybe you can help clarify. The protester, his comments were, or his claim was, I guess the product that Access will be using, he didn't feel was valid. Is that correct?
Well, what he said was that the product requires, it requires, he should have listed it. The sub that's going to apply it should have been listed. And so Access is saying that the product itself doesn't require any special certification. So he can do it himself. He can self-perform the application.
Okay. And that was told to the protester?
Correct.
Okay.
The communication, it has been, and it has also been reviewed by City Attorney Office.
Okay. I'm just thinking like a lesson learned for the protester, in the event that they want to bid next time.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Great
Commissioner,
job.
these kinds of protests are fairly common. One particular bidder may list a subcontractor for a particular task. They noticed that another contractor didn't, and that's fine. You're not required to subcontract unless we've specifically said you have to do that. You haven't listed anyone, then it just means you have to self-perform.
Yeah, I think sometimes, it's the manner in which we interpret, what's on either on the RFP or on the request, and everybody may just follow the rule, everything that's written down, and some others may interpret things differently. But I'm glad that we communicated at least to the protester. So that's fine. I just think of it as a lesson learned for them. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And this protester has actually done quite a bit of business with us. In fact, been a big participant in the homelessness conference.
Ford is a very experienced contractor. They know exactly what the rules are.
I got the gist. Thanks.
Thank you for saving me, Commissioner Villegas. All right, Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Ms. Quinones. I thought that was a really thorough report. I just wanted to put an exclamation point on the same items as the previous one, right? The number of contractors bidding on this compared to past projects where we would sometimes only get one. This time we got 4 bidders, and just an extra exclamation point on the 31.06 low bid, which is very low. And so we, in terms of what the original estimate was, it was, 7.6 million, and we're awarding it today for 5.2 million. So that is a dramatic cost savings for this program. So I credit the Bureau of Engineering for their work on this. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Yeah, I agreed. I know y'all are continuing to work on making these as efficient and cost effective as possible. I think it is certainly very instructive for us.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm in the middle of a board meeting.
Yes. That is true, President Pro Tem Davis. And again, I want to, give a shout out to Councilmember Blumenfeld, who has been a pit bull in getting these projects done, as well as Councilmember Buscano on the previous item, and Councilmember Krikorian on theirs. They have certainly shown great leadership in getting these projects through. So this is terrific. All right. So I will motion to move this item forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry.
Well, go ahead. I'll give it to Vice President.
So I got a second. The magnanimous President Pro Tem Davis affording Vice President Garcia a second to my motion. Do I have any questions or concerns? President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Closa, Commissioner Villegas?
None for me.
All right. Commissioner
Good. No concerns or questions. Thank you.
All good? Okay. Commissioner Closa, you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no objections, this item is approved and adopted forthwith. Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you, Marina. And let's get these things done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Okay, colleagues, that brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 is an authority for expenditure with EPC Consultants, Inc. Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $45,289.76 to provide funds to pay for the training that will promote leadership to communicate and build teams to complete our goals for fiscal year 2021. Authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the expenditure and attach the letter of agreement after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Kevin, are you here to present, Mr. Mean?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Commissioner, and your executives and others who are on the line. I'm Kevin Min with the Street Services, aka Streets LA. The item before you is requesting funding to essentially train the next generation within the Bureau. As you know, our Bureau is losing about 130 people due to retirements over the past 3 months and in the future 4 months through the city's separation incentive program. And so there's been a lot of loss in leadership at the division level, at the assistant division levels, and a lot of supervisors are leaving our Bureau in the near future, or already have left. And so we're hoping to motivate and generate a new leadership team within the Bureau of people who are willing to step up and fill those roles that have been vacated by those who have retired recently. The program, as of right now, is conceived to sessions, 90-minute sessions with new leaders who are stepping into these roles to help bring them together to know what the Bureau is doing in a holistic way, understand kind of the new culture we're trying to build, and integrating the different work programs together in asset management, and ensuring that they have a holistic view of what they do and how it relates to other work programs. Part of the training will also include an employee survey to gauge different ways of improving our work products and how leaders can be empowered to lead, right? And then we're also going to create a roadmap using this leadership as a catalyst for this on training future leaders. And so this will engage the next generation of leaders within our Bureau to learn how to lead, to work together in developing a new leadership program for the Bureau, and hopefully help us achieve some of the challenges that we have this fiscal year and in future fiscal years. So with that, I'll be available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kevin. I see Adele has rejoined us. Anything you want to add, Adele?
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has done a great job, but we have a huge in our leadership, and it's both growing our new leaders and equipping, giving them the needed tools to succeed as they step into these new roles. And I'm very proud of all of the staff who stepped up to fill in on acting, temporary acting role in these high-level positions to maintain and continue to provide the basic services for our residents in Los Angeles. So I'm very, very proud of all the staff. But I think you would join me in actually making sure that we provide them the tools to succeed and be ready to continue providing the services we need to take care of the staff, to motivate, but also, as Kevin mentioned, and how we can leverage and manage our resources to do more and more for less, and actually to leverage the resources and integrate. It's also, this is at the heart of our equity plan, as we are working very hard to prepare our staff to step up and take on higher roles in the organization and ensure that everyone is given the tools and the ability to excel, to maximize diversity at all levels in the organization. We are really working hard on this. So the timing of this couldn't be any better than now, because we need to step up and fill, but also meet our goals for equity. And I'm very proud of the work that Kevin and his team has done in leading our overall coordinating the efforts across the Bureau. So I'll ask for your support on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. All right, colleagues, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Adele, Kevin, good to see you. You guys are always on, looking ahead and always trying to, be one step ahead of everything that's needed. Let me ask you a question. Have you utilized EPC as a leadership consultant before?
Yes, EPC actually did a series of leadership trainings for us earlier in the summer. More of a general leadership training. This meant to bring together the leaders within the Bureau to be one body, right? One leadership team. And so it's not just going to be a skill set thing. It's going to be working together to determine how this team can lead the Bureau in the future, and integrate things like equity and asset management and other, really critical factors that will help us succeed in the future. So yes, they've done a great job in the past, but I think the idea of this training is to build upon that prior training and to and kind of start doing a cultural change within the Bureau.
I see. Very nice. This is something that I think I'll say for Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Villegas. It's really hits our heart. We have leadership degrees that I know that I'm always very happy to see leadership training and leadership enhancement and so forth. So this is actually very good, and I look forward to hearing how your development goes and seeing your staff progress and get into different roles and really get into their leadership roles that they're meant to be in. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, I echo the comments of Commissioner
Public comment.
Commissioner Garcia. We certainly can benefit from extrinsic or outside input in terms of how to look at our current situation from a different perspective. And I think by having this input, it will help us to grow and to look at various solutions that we probably might not have looked at just by collaborating with ourselves. So when we think about this organizational change, it is critically important. And I like the fact that Dale has tied it to what is one of the visions that has been critically emphasized by the mayor, and that in fact is diversity. And I think that to emphasize that we are open to this kind of input is really encouraging. And I think that we all can benefit from what you might learn from this. And so, as Commissioner Garcia said it, I strongly too support what you're doing, and I do see the value in hiring this agency to assist us in our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. I agree with the sentiments of my colleagues, and losing 130 staff members in the course of a few months is a really horrible loss for not just the Bureau, but of course the larger department. And that's a lot of additional work to take on for those who are going to be in these acting roles. So I appreciate your investment in people and in your team to really make sure that they're successful. I think oftentimes maybe people are given acting roles without, maybe like you mentioned, the tools to really fully handle all these things being thrown in their way. And as we know, week to week, your workload can change depending on COVID guidelines, how many of your staff, may have to stay at home. So, I do think that this is much needed and is something to be applauded in terms of your forward thinking. I guess the question I had for this was not so much the goal of what you're doing, but just more around the cost. Could you just confirm how many participants are going to be utilizing this professional development training?
Yes, we're anticipating around 15 to 20 participants at this time, which will go through the session. And these participants are leading teams that they will translate this training down to their staff. And so the idea is that this will catalyze a bureau-wide, change, not just, for a handful of people within the bureau.
And then, can you just, and last question for me, what is the specific funding source that we're using for this? Just curious.
Actually, I think I will pass that to Cynthia, who's on the line here. She's from our financial management division. Cynthia, are you there? You're muted if you're trying. There you go.
Yes, I'm having Wi-Fi issue earlier, so I'm trying to reconnect. I'm using my phone right now, but
yeah, we can hear you.
Commissioner, I think it's general fund. According to the AFE, it says Fund 100, and I believe Fund 100 is general fund. I'll let the others speak.
General fund, yes.
Okay. I saw that. I just wanted to confirm and double check. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Commissioner Villegas.
Hi, thank you. And thanks, Kevin, for your thorough report. I have just a minor question. Seeing we have a big talent pool here in Los Angeles, I just noticed that the EPC is located in San Francisco. Is there one reason or another for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the things that and as a part of the department, we've used them before in leadership development in sanitation, and I did not want to invest a lot of money in somebody starting a researching and getting to know the city process. So the cost was a critical factor in continuing to use the same group that is very knowledgeable of the city process and what we do, and the cost of materials, etc., will be much less because they have the information they've used in the past. So it was something that we want to build on what we did. But this will be a very, really, it's as training the staff so they can train others. So it's going to be this is training the trainers and then eventually go around the city. The focus was to get this done fast and minimize cost.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. I just wanted to ask just for clarification. And I appreciate just your investment in this. Seeing that you did, as Commissioner Colosa mentioned, seeing that you did lose a lot of staff, and Kevin is one of those that it's just stepped up and in leadership now, and so I just commend you for doing something like that. It is very you have to do all that foresight for succession planning, and I thank you for bringing this forward to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. I believe, Dr. Campos, that we have Dr. Williams wanting to speak on this item. Just to be clear, generally speaking, and I mean general as in almost always, we will have public comment on items before the presentations. That is my misstep, but Dr. Williams, accept my apologies for making you wait. Dr. Campos?
Yes,
Hello?
caller ending in 682, Dr. Williams. Please go ahead.
Yes,
You'll be given 2 minutes
Dr.
to speak
Tom
on
Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. Usually you have a presentation, then public comment, then board comment, and motion. But anyway, the basic element for this one, can you put it all on podcast? That is, record the whole thing, put it on podcast, and make it available for others to review and see how you work. The example that we have right now in neighborhood councils is called Plan Check, which has the planning department helping us understand how the planning department does its work. In the same way, you could have streets check, or sewers check, or storm drain check. Any of this would provide the neighborhood council members with some positive images as to how you work and how we can cooperate with your work at the more local level and tell our people how to interact with your people, as we are doing with the Department of City Planning through Plan Check. So I would highly recommend that you make sure that the amount is sufficient to record everything, as most Zoom and other conference systems are operating now. You record it, and you can provide it as a podcast to anyone that wants to see what you did. So highly recommend ad recording and podcasts for circulation through the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Kevin and Adele, how many acting folks do you have in acting roles currently?
I would say we are still hiring. I think we probably have 10 in high-level positions. Right, actually going in and interviewing next week or two for more acting. So I would say we'll probably have close to 20 um, division managers to superintendents.
Okay.
At that level, yeah. Right, Kevin, out of net.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, we have several acting division managers and several acting assistant managers, and of course, as you have the division manager take an acting role, that goes down the chain of command as well.
Right.
So I think around 20 is about right at this time.
And they are, that universe is a key target for this training, correct?
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Very much the point.
Yeah, they're all new. They're all new to their roles.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. I have no further questions. Do I have a motion to approve? Commission. Oh, yes, please.
My apologies. I am curious to
Sure.
know, can I ask a quick question?
Of course, yeah, please.
In terms of substance and what the staff will be learning, or these directors, will they, can we, as this progresses, is there any way for at least the board to like understand a little bit of what your staff will be learning? I'm just curious to know in the event that you'll be talking about culture or anything like that. I don't mean to take up any more time, but we can talk offline.
Yeah, I'd love to work with you offline, Commissioner. I'd love to invite all of you to come in and also talk to this. I know I want to tap into your leadership and your skill set. We actually were planning a much bigger training program that's going to be a year program. It's like an academy. But with this whole COVID and the change, we were actually asking the mayor to come speak, asking the commissioners, asking the controller, the city attorney, and others to come speak to the staff, the CAO, the CLA. And we had a whole plan for a 12-month academy that I want to still bring in place. I want your help and your support. And now I know that a lot of you are interested in being part of it. So I want to tap into you and use you to help us develop, because that's something that we all want to invest in. But I think this is, for me, is a stopgap right now. And I'd love to share with you more about the details, and maybe you can actually come in and participate, because each one of you has so much to offer. And many of the staff are actually scared. I know they're committed, but also scared about the success. And I said to them, we for them, and I'm committed to their success. And some of them may make some mistakes, but we're all gonna be committed to moving and making this city a better city. So I'm gonna work with you on it. I'm gonna continue the dialogue, and hopefully we can tap into your expertise. All of you guys would love to work with you specifically on this. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have one little final. I wanted to find out, Adele, is it going to be virtual, the training, given the COVID-19 environment we're in?
It'll be virtual, sir.
Yeah, okay. And I would just also want to say that I think that the department chairs should be able to choose who they want. But I think Villegas raises a very interesting and important point, which is that we are an international market with scholars from UCLA to USC and so forth and so on, in the private sector too. So in the future, I hope that we also, as we move forward, are open to looking at some of the scholars and practitioners of leadership and diversity in the LA area as well. But
Sure.
I think you should be able to choose who you want. But
Yeah.
we have renowned, nationally endowed individuals in this area, and if we can't ever use any of them, people are gonna want to know why. So just
Sure.
want to offer that.
Good point.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a motion for the item?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any concerns or questions, follow-up questions, Commissioner Calosa or Vice President Garcia?
Good.
None for me either. I just want to just echo again that I want to congratulate you both on looking outward and looking progressively moving forward. So thank you, Adele, for being such a great leader.
All right. Hearing no objections, this item is approved and adopted forthwith. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Adele, very much. And colleagues, that brings us to item number 10. And item number 10 is a status update on major upcoming street improvement projects. Dr. Campos, I believe we have a speaker on this item.
That is correct. Dr. Tom Williams, caller ending in 682. Can you please unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 10. Please go ahead.
Hello again. Okay, for item number 10, the update of upcoming street improvements projects. I have repeatedly requested that improvement projects be provided to Dunn and to neighborhood councils so that we can identify on a monthly basis as to where we're going to have, or if we're going to have, street projects in our area so that the stakeholders will have some idea that something is coming, good things are coming, and to provide some continuity between their comments and responses back to Bureau of Street Services. But I say there seems to be a lot of silos in LA City, and we're just trying to get the Board of Public Works to notify Dunn, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and the neighborhood councils as to when there are going to be street improvements that will affect our districts. And there's only 99 of us. So maybe I think you probably have a map of where the neighborhood council districts are, or you can get it from Dunn, and they can give you the digital so that we can coordinate between what you're doing and what we're going to have done in our areas. That's all. But this is, I think, about the third or fourth time that I've mentioned it to the Board of Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Cox, I believe you have your report.
Good afternoon, President Good and members of the board, Dale. This information I'll be providing you is to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays to the commuters. UCLA would like to provide you with the update on all major upcoming street improvement projects. In the metro area, on Monday, January 11th, and Wednesday, January 13th, from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Broadway from 108th Street to 112th Street. In CD8, Empowerment Congress Central Area Neighborhood Council. This is under the PPP Pavement Preservation Program funding. Also, Tuesday, January 12th, from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will cold mill pave Broadway West Roadway from Century Boulevard to 108th, again in CD8. Empowerment Congress Central Area Neighborhood Council. In addition, in the metro area, the week of January 11th to January 16th, the metro region will complete 12 projects for a total of 7.91 lane miles. As for the Valley region, on Friday, January 15th, 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Sadakoy Street from Whitsett Street to dead end west of Whitsett Street, In CD2, North Hollywood West Neighborhood Council. This is also a PPP funded program. also in the Valley region for the week of January 11th to the 16th, the Valley region will complete 8 projects for a total of 2.393 lane miles. In addition, also we have press releases have been broadcasted, notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council district offices to assist with the outreach to the stakeholders, and we have coordinated with LA Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. I note that you with each project, you alluded to the neighborhood council in whose jurisdiction the project is in. How is Dunn? Y'all communicate with Dunn the schedule, correct?
We communicate with the council office, and they reach out to all the stakeholders involved. We allow the council office to do that.
So, Michael, first of all, Michael is one of our acting managers. So I wanted to acknowledge him and his leadership in stepping up and doing a great job. So thank you, Michael, for your work. And what we're doing here is not what we have added this layer of reporting at the board is just to make sure that our community is at the last, even, just before we do the work. So there's a multiple layers of notification. Over the last 2.5 years since I've taken over in Streets LA, we have developed a interactive map that's available on streetsla.org, and we have developed a 5-year look ahead of paving by fiscal year, by location. That's available so the community can zoom in, and that has been outreach. We will do a better job of communicating that. It's available at streetsla.org, and you can go to road repairs, and you can actually look what has been completed, what's your street, and also you can find when is your street scheduled to be paved, and the next 5-year pavement program. And I would just, and as we get closer to implementing the repair, we are working with the council office on a 1-year look ahead, 6-month look ahead, and then the community gets actually a direct mailer 30 days in advance about when we're going to actually be doing work. And then 5 days in advance, Michael, we do the posting.
I'm sorry, I forgot to add, you're absolutely correct. We do a 30-day letter prior to coming to the project. 5 days prior to the project, we do flyers in the community to the businesses as well as the residents, letting them know when we're coming. And we've added another layer just in the last year where we're even doing a day before letter. So we're even going out the day before, passing out another notice, letting the constituents and the businesses, property owners, and everyone know that we are going to be there on that particular day.
But my thank the speaker, Dr. Williams. My commitment is actually what I took a note that we will be actually taking this. How does this our service? How can you find out what we do for you? We've been doing. I think we have a stakeholder advisory council. We go out to neighborhood councils, but I want to probably do more of it virtually and actually do a. I like the idea of actually creating how to on a webcast or some kind of a mechanism that our community members and active community members, neighborhood council members can share with the community. But we actually have evolved over the last 2 years to something that's very transparent. And I want to make sure, since we are here speaking at the board, there is a major effort for us to really put the plan ahead in front of everyone, so we know what street's going to be done, so the community knows, and they can really ask the questions using data that we are using ourselves. So I want to just make sure we share that. But I'm going to take that challenge on and do more. as I believe strongly in the integration, in the innovation. The last one I always use is tell our community what we're doing for them. We're not doing our job. So I'll take that challenge on, Mr. President and commissioners and Dr. Williams, to take that on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank
I will email you.
Thank you, Michael.
Anytime. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Questions or comments? We'll start with Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. I just want to thank Mr. Hajkhalil and Mr. Cox for being here today. I was going to share the exact same thing Mr. Hajkhalil did, which is your fantastic website where you can view all the upcoming street repavement projects pretty far out, and it's very nicely organized by neighborhood council. That's something that's available now. You can see everything. I'm looking at the one for next month for February 2021. So that's something I encourage Dr. Williams and other stakeholders to really utilize. I think, under Mr. Hajkhalil's leadership, Streets LA has done a really amazing job of transforming the Bureau in a short amount of time to provide this data to the public so that it's as transparent as possible and that you all have the data that you need, and it's publicly available all the time. So it's just streetsla.lacity.org. And so that's all I really wanted to share, and thank you both for your report and for continuing to do more. You guys already do a ton more than most teams, and I just thank you both for continuing to accept the challenge when it's brought before you by the community. So thanks.
Thank you. You're more than welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. President Pro Tem Davis.
No, I just wanted to thank the Bureau of Street Services for their planning and again for their integrating all of the objectives that we have towards our overall goal of making sure that we have diversity and inclusion. And I can't say it enough because it seems like an endless theme that we're singing every week from the federal government, from yesterday and beyond. It seems as if this subject is something that reoccurs, and it's not an easy subject to discuss because often you're the only one in the room raising an issue about it, but then it continues to be not only consistent, but it also continues to be persistent. And so I thank Adele for the leadership among our management team to really continue to integrate this in to what we're doing. I think that's what all of our bureau chiefs should and must do. And it is the only way we're going to really embrace what the mayor has done. The state has said, no, we don't want to do Prop 16, but the mayor has said, we still want a policy in the city of Los Angeles that reflects what our vision is for our city. So again, I think when we have the leadership, such as what we have seen today, reflected in the work that Adele is doing, that if all of us in our department do it, then we still will stand out as an example of what we ought to be doing. So that's my 2 cents, Mr. President, and I appreciate you letting me give it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Right.
Vice President Garcia?
No, I don't have anything. I'm just happy to hear that Broadway is getting taken care of, especially in that area. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm familiar with that area, and so I know it needs it. I almost called the other day. I'm happy to hear I didn't. It was during the vacation. But I'm happy that you guys are taking care of Broadway in that part of the city.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions. Thank you for the report, Mr. Cox.
You're welcome.
I would just thank you, Commissioner Villegas. I think it'd be great. I mean, Adele, thank you. Michael, thank you for the commitment to continuing to up the game. To President Pro Tem Davis's point, up the game in terms of communication, community outreach. I don't have to tell you all. I mean, you're at the tip of the spear. There are very few city services that that resonate for people in their day-to-day lives, quite like pavement preservation. That I think it will be. I think there's lots of opportunities to make sure folks are aware further, and maybe Adele, there's some communication with General Manager Raquel Beltran. I mean, even just putting out the website on the Dunn newsletter would be something to consider. So we trust that you guys will continue working with Raquel and company to sort of get it out there further.
And then, as always, we always say, streets connect us, and I want to make sure that we continue. That's how we connect people, is through our streets, and that's a basic thing that we want to ensure that people see it. So thank you, and we'll work with Dunn on this communication and outreach, and the only thing we can do is do better. That's what we're here for.
Well, look, you guys, quite frankly, on the outreach front, you're exemplary. So when you say that, I have full faith that there will be results. So thank you both very much, and have great weekends. Okay. All right. Dr. Campos, is the deck cleared here?
Yes, it is.
All right. So I would. I have nothing. I have nothing prepared or written, quite frankly, but because everything hit so quick. But I would like to adjourn in the honor of a icon in LA City politics. Sorry. Funny thing is, he probably would have gotten a kick out of hearing my dog bark.
Right. He agrees.
He's like, what kind of dog you got? I will just say, there's very little that I could say. There's very little that I can say that many more folks won't say more eloquently, and many folks with simply more experience with Councilmember Tom LaBonge, who passed very abruptly from a heart attack at the age of 67 last night. I don't really know more details than that. I would just say that, when I was, before I joined the Garcetti administration, and I worked for the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, and spent a lot of time in City Hall as a agitator and advocate and working to move things. He always called me Senator Trash, which I won't go much deeper. I think you all actually know some of the history on that, and it was really funny. I think the thing that I just always think about with Tom LaBonge is he had a heart the size of California, and it just may have been too big for his body to handle. The guy operated with zero pretense, zero ego. He was truly one of a kind, and in this very tortured time, where the role of civic engagement and the role of civic responsibility, the necessity of introspection into why we do what we do, what we're trying to achieve, really highlights what a guy like him was like. He was here because he loved to be here, because he loved Los Angeles. He loved it from day one. He started at DWP, and he never stopped. And it killed him to not report to City Hall every single day. And he still did half the time, it felt like. I want to adjourn in the honor of Councilmember Tom LaBonge. He will be missed. He was genuinely special. And I always just felt like he was bigger than his body, and it may have just been too much. But he was a special cat, and he will be genuinely missed by the city of Los Angeles and anybody who knew him, and a whole bunch of folks benefited from his love and his heart. I don't know if anybody's got anything that they want to add.
Yeah, I would definitely like to add something, Mr. President, and I really appreciate this recognition. I just saw Tom, I think it was right before Christmas, and he was going to come by to talk to me about some public work, something that we should be doing. But I am so inspired and motivated by Tom. As a student of history, he was, in my opinion, LA's historian. I mean, he knew so much about Los Angeles, things you would not have imagined. And it was such a motivating and inspiration to be around him. I feel that we are losing a piece of Los Angeles, that we have lost Tom. I admire him greatly. And his work and information that he shared to me about the city was so valuable to me. And I always felt that he was a person that truly represented our city so well. And again, he will sorely be missed. And I think everybody who came in his presence felt a kind of belongingness to Los Angeles. He reflected it. He knew when whatever building was built, when whatever stop sign was installed. I mean, you could not have imagined the things that he knows. So I'm so glad, Mr. President, that you have allowed us to recognize him. And even in our Department of Public Works, I understand that he really collaborated with the Bureau of Sanitation, so much so that they have a truck named after him in terms of the work that he did at removing trash in certain neighborhoods. They just have a trash truck named Tom LaBonge. So that kind of reflects the kind of Los Angelinos. The LA Times said that he was LA's cheerleader, and I could not agree more. We couldn't have had a better cheerleader than in Tom LaBonge, and we truly, truly will miss him.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis, and agreed 100%. I can literally almost visualize me like, Mike, got something,
Right, yeah, that's him. That's it.
Man didn't know a thing he wasn't enthusiastic about.
That's right. That's right.
Anybody else? No obligation. But any other thoughts from my colleagues?
I'll go. I have, I didn't know Tom LaBonge for too long. I only met him about maybe 2 years ago when I first joined the board. And I remember going to introduce myself to him, and he already knew who I was. He knew who we all were. And he's somebody that even though he had retired from city council, he never really left. He still continued to serve because every bridge opening, ribbon cutting that we would do, with park opening with the Bureau of Engineering or other bureaus, there was one person that was there almost all the time, and that was Tom LaBonge, often with a football in hand, there just because, he loved to be with the people. He loved to celebrate the wins that the city had, and he just still cared a lot about the work. And even from something as simple as, me going around meeting the Bureau of Engineering staff, so many people talked about Tom because he still went to visit them, all the way from the GIS department to the mapping division. Everyone was telling me how Tom literally just came to visit them, just to check in, say hello, ask them a question about the history of this project with the Bureau of Engineering. And it just really demonstrates that he was someone that, thought that no task was too small for him to take on if a constituent told him about it, right? And he had just an infectious love for this city. And so I really just thank him for being so welcoming of me, so supportive of us as a board, and thank him for his service to the city. I know that we will remember him for many, many years to come, and that we'll look at his service. And it's an amazing example of a public servant who gave everything he had and poured his heart to this city. And so I'm just honored to have known him, and we really remember his legacy, fondly. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that I really appreciated Tom coming to my office to congratulate me when I became vice president. And that was so of unheard of. Or he would run. I don't know if you guys remember that he would run and come through his runs to City Hall, and there was times that he would come and go see Kevin. And so every time he would see Kevin, it was a slight conversation. And I just always thought of him such like he really embodied what a public servant was. And I really have to say the same thing that Jessica said. It's like no task was so small and no person was so small to him. Just coming to say congratulations was like it was a big deal, that he took his time, and he knew, by the way, too, when it happened. So I just have to say that he's going to be very, very missed. I think by the city, by his family. I'm sure he was a big iconic person in his own family.
Yes.
And I'm sure he was. He's gonna be so missed by everybody, and even by somebody that just knew him, a couple years ago. And I'll miss him running into City Hall and hey, what are you doing? I remember him always coming by. What are you doing today? And just random questions that that make you feel that you're not small in anybody's eyes. So that was really. It's a shame we lost him today.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Villegas?
Yeah, thank you. I met Tom. I met Tom when I was 22. That was 26 years ago. I was an intern for. I just did the math, but don't do the math on my age. But I was an intern right out of college for Mayor Reardon, and Tom was responsible for constituent services. So he knows Los Angeles. I thought that, he was, Mr. Encyclopedia when I met him, because he knew Los Angeles inside and out. But just, over the years, just knowing him and having a good friendship, it was just amazing how personable he was to all of us. And how much he knew just about the city because he cared so much. I feel it is a huge loss, just like we've all said, today. And just, pray for healing for his family. It's just so hard. It's so abrupt. And he will be sorely missed.
Agreed. All underscored by the comment. What's interesting is I knew nothing of your experience, collective or individual experiences with him, and every single one of us has these very specific experiences with him, and we're all from very disparate spaces, right? And we all have our Labange memories, and that's great. Dr. Campos, I suspect you do. You have any particular memories of Councilmember Labange?
I do have some memories with Tom Labange, and I was at the Port of Los Angeles at the time. This is more than 10 years ago. And he would always come into the board commission and always advocate for things that we do at the Port of Los Angeles, City of Los Angeles as a whole. And anywhere I went, he was always there. And so he knew what was going on, whether it was a retirement party, whether it was a festivity, whether it was a groundbreaking event or some sort of project that we were doing at the Port of Los Angeles, and even at the airport when I was at the airport as well. And even here a year ago before at the board, before COVID hit, having him come in and advocate for small businesses and just really putting his soul and heart into LA and the economy of LA and the small businesses. So there was no topic that was restrictive to him. It was everywhere and anything was fair for him. And he was just a warm person, very excited all the time and always ultra positive. So thank you for this opportunity and in a journey in his memory.
Thanks, Fernando. That was great. All right. Well, we're a lesser city today, but we're greater for his memory and greater for all that he did. So that will far outweigh everything. So with that, we will adjourn in the honor of former council member Tom Labange, and this meeting is officially adjourned right now. Colleagues will reconvene in 10 minutes at 4:25 for our management meeting.